Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of BizzTalk, where we talk about exciting topics in the event industry. I am here today with the exhibition guy, Stephan Murtagh. How are you?
I'm great. I'm really good, Jason. It's a pleasure to be here with you. As you know, I love talking about events and exhibitions, so it's an absolute pleasure to be here from Dublin, Ireland.
Excellent, excellent. And how's the weather over there in Dublin today?
Surprisingly good, actually. This time of year, it's normally very cold and very wet, but actually, as I look out my window today, it's lovely. Actually, the sun is shining. It's like an autumn day, a good autumn day. So it's one of our good days in Ireland today.
And here I am stuck in Texas. Silly. I'm in the wrong place, Stephan. Okay. Anyways, really excited to have Stephan here with us today. Our topic is the 7 steps to exhibition success. But before we do that, Stephan, how about you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, of course. Jason, I suppose I run a business called The Exhibition Guy, and it's based on the fact I've been in the exhibition and events industry for 30 years. And about 5-6 years ago, I was getting really frustrated seeing people coming to events and just not making the best return out of it, or making a mess of it in some cases. And I also had a training background, so I decided to bring the two of them together to marry two things that I love doing. One is the sales piece, exhibitions and people. So it was kind of obvious to set up a training company based on helping people to exhibit. And it's something I'm incredibly passionate about. I love exhibitions. I've walked probably hundreds of thousands of miles of exhibition halls, but I just love what I do. I'm so lucky to be in that position. So for me, it's not even a job. I just love what I do. So it's all about success, really.
I love that. I love that. And so when did you set up your company now? When did you become the exhibition guy?
Yeah, interesting story, actually. I set up the business 6 years ago, specifically to train people. I set up a company called Your Sales Coach, which was a coaching and sales coaching company. And my business mentor said to me, he said, do you just want to be one of the other 10,000 sales trainers in Ireland, or do you want to be a bit different? And it got me thinking, actually. He said, your expertise is in exhibitions. So I said, why don't you do something very niche in that market? So I decided he was right, first of all, because I didn't want to compete with all those other people. And I did have the background in exhibitions. So I remembered back, Jason, from my time selling exhibitions, where I'd be on the phone ringing up a client, and I'd hear the receptionist put her hand over the phone, and she'd roar to the guy on the other side of the room, that exhibition bloke was on the phone again. And I used to hear this so many times, so I decided the exhibition guy was obviously going to be my company. And it just morphed from there. And it was funny, because when I launched it on LinkedIn, I do a massive amount of work. 90% of my work comes from LinkedIn. But when I launched as the exhibition guy, I got so much traction so quickly that, in fact, when I go to shows now, people don't even know me as Stephan Murtagh anymore. They just go, exhibition guy. It should be on my passport. It's getting to that stage now.
I love it. I love it. It started with people calling you that on the phone.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
It's just a natural progression for me, and it's and just I've got a brief story on that. I was talking about the exhibition guy. I was in a coffee shop about 2 years ago, and I was wearing a hoodie with the exhibition guy on the back of it. And this guy tapped me, even though he was the queue behind me, and he says, "Oh, you're that guy from LinkedIn who's always posting stuff." And I said, "Yeah," thinking he was going to compliment me. And he said, "I don't like your stuff." And I kind of looked at him, why do you follow me then? And he says, well, I like some of your stuff. Now, why I'm telling that story is I seem to have created, I don't want to sound arrogant when I say an aura, but I seem to have created something around this exhibition guy thing. And it's really exciting, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, then let me ask you one more question before I really want to dive into this topic, because if there's anyone that can talk about this, it's you. But how has the pandemic affected your business, and maybe just the way that you approach exhibitions?
Yeah, it's hugely affected, Jason, because if I look at my order book pre-March 2020, when it hit in Ireland in terms of lockdown, I had a very full order book. Lots of training courses abroad. I do some work in India, some work in the UAE, and lots of work in the UK. And my order book was full, or more or less full. Literally the following day, the 13th of March, my order book decided to be completely empty as everything closed down. Now, I'm not unique in that, because that happened to a lot of other companies all around the world. And I had to look at it and go, where am I going from here? Because I don't know when exhibitions are going to open up again.
Right.
So because again, there was no guarantees. It wasn't 2 weeks, it wasn't 3 weeks. It ended up being 18 months so far. So what I had to do was, the first thing I did was I used my sales training hat to work with companies on sales planning for when we came out of COVID. They weren't all exhibition companies, by the way. Some of them were, but most of them weren't actually. And I got a contract to train for a company called the Entrepreneurs Academy in Ireland, where 50 new businesses a month I would work with on sales training and marketing training. So that really got me through the first 50% of COVID. And when we got to halfway through 9 months ago, say, things started to look up a little bit in terms of the exhibition industry. And organizers were now coming to me saying, you know what, we've got an ideal opportunity to help you help us right now, because there's more people working from home, Zoom is a thing, and we need to have a strategy for when we do go back. So that kind of helped get me through the pandemic period that we've just gone through. But I also, in all seriousness, I had 6 offerings before before COVID. And during the COVID period, it gave me a great opportunity to look up maybe were those 6 areas all working. And in fact, 2 of them weren't working. I was just holding on to them from a history point of view.
Right.
So I dumped those 2 things, Jason, and I focused more on 4 key things, 4 key areas I work on. And that has actually really helped me now to be much more laser focused on what I want to do. But more importantly, it helps me be laser focused on my clients. And that's what he wants. So it's been a great time in some ways. It's been a great opportunity.
I love that. I love that. And your story is like so many others, but also different. You know, you're rather than being one of the trade show organizers that has all these assets on the table, right? That they're losing money daily. Your situation's different, but you were able to adapt and move forward. And now things are coming back. So hopefully the order books are filling up again.
Listen, money talks, and it's again, from my point of view, it is starting to. But I'm also getting to the age now. I'm 53 now, where I'm a little bit more patient. And I know it's going to take a little bit longer. It's like during the COVID time, I said to salespeople, you can't force a sale on somebody anyway, but you definitely can't do it during COVID, because they'll just tell you to go away in more expletive terms than that. With my business, I have to be patient, because it's about really focusing on what matters, and that's a bigger picture and longer picture, not just getting a sale for today. So it is about patience.
I love it. I love it. Excellent lessons. Thank you, Stephan. Okay, let's move into the topic: the 7 steps to exhibition success. Start us off. Where do we begin?
Okay, we begin, I suppose, about maybe 10, 12, well, but maybe 10, 8 to 10 years ago, when I'm going to give you a story. I sold an exhibition stand, or a booth, as you guys call it in the US, to a company in Dublin, big kitchen companies. Their kitchen's 50,000 euro and up, so quality product. And I sold him a stand at this particular exhibition. And he spent 17,000 euro on just the floor space with me, which is a lot of money now for any company. And he spent 50,000 overall. Now, why I'm telling you that story was, during the show itself, it was a launch show, so it never happened before until this year. At the end of the event, everyone rebooked. Everyone said, this show is brilliant, I want to rebook. And that's really unusual in our world, first of all. But this guy had a disaster. He berated me, said the show was rubbish, got no business from it. And he was really, really annoyed. But when I sat down and had a conversation with him, I realized that there was so much he didn't do, that he didn't make any plans. He'd no marketing done. He had the wrong people on the stand. And I'm not trying to blame him. But what it made me think about is we as exhibition people go out and we try and sell exhibition space to people. And it's a very, very expensive way of doing business if you don't do it right. So I set up a business and a program called the 7 Steps to Exhibition Success, to focus in on making exhibitors more successful. Now, there's a 2 plus benefit here. First of all, if the exhibitor does well, that's great, because that's what we want our clients to do well. But also, they will rebook if they do well most of the time. Not every time, but most of the time. So it's in our interests as salespeople in exhibitions to encourage people and educate them on how to exhibit better. So what I developed was a program called 7 Steps to Exhibition Success, which focuses on 3 things we do before the event, 3 things we do during the event, and 1 thing we do after the event. And when I explain it to you, you'll understand it's actually ridiculously simplistic. But that's what it's meant to be, because in business, people can overcomplicate things. And I've delivered the program to about maybe 4,000 companies so far. And they all say to me, that stuff, not rocket science. I said, exactly. It's not meant to be rocket science. But where the rocket science exists is where you actually do these 7 things.
Right.
So when we look at it and break them down, is the first thing I always say to people, on step 1 of 7 steps to exhibition success is about having a plan. 68% of people who will go to a trade fair will have no plan. They have no idea what it's there, and they'll just rock up and hope it happens. So it's really important that we have a plan. Now, the word plan scares people because they think, oh, plan, it's got to be 15, 20 pages. It doesn't. It needs to be a 1 to 2 page written plan on what you want to achieve by exhibiting at the exhibition. And within that plan should cover sales, marketing, and operations. So you look at the sales, what are you hoping to get out of it? Who's working on the stand? What are your sale prices? All those, that kind of thing. And then the marketing piece, we look at where are we marketing ourselves, but equally important, when are we spending our marketing budget for exhibiting? Which is really important. What channels are we using? And I'd say to people, it's also about online, because obviously that's the world we live in, but it's also about offline, what we do offline as well. So the marketing piece is important. And the last piece in the plan should be about the operations. It's who's bringing what, who's working what days, all the logistics that you need to understand.
Right.
So the first step is about having 1 to 2 page written plan.
1 to 2 pages is really, that's not much. That's not scary. That's simple.
That's what I mean. If you go and say, okay, I'm going to write a really grandiose plan of 10 pages, all it will become will be something on your shelf that you won't look at again. If you make it 1 to 2 page, it forces you to do those 1 to 2 page things. And that's the most important part.
That's right. Absolutely. And you said 68% of people don't have a plan at all.
Don't have a plan. They have no plan. They just arrive and they go, we want to sell. You know, one of the biggest mistakes, Jason, on that is that I say to people, say, first time exhibitors, say, what's your objective for exhibiting? And they say, well, we want to sell lots of products. Now that's lovely. It's great. But what does that mean? How do you know what's lots? You can't quantify that. It's very important that you do it. And ironically, that brings me not very nicely onto step 2, actually, because step 2 is about setting 3 clear objectives. I work with clients and I'll say to them, what are your objectives? And they say, I want to sell 50 products, 5,000 products, whatever it might be. Or another potential exhibitor will say to me, and they have a list of 25 things they want to achieve. Now, 1 is not realistic. 25 is not realistic. Setting 3 objectives really enables you to focus exactly on what you want to achieve. It doesn't mean you won't achieve other things, but you will be focused on those 3 things. And again, this is where I talk about this a lot, is this idea of return on investment that all companies speak about. Return on investment, by and large, in exhibition terms, hangs on, I invest 5,000 and I want to get 50,000 back or whatever, because it's a number.
Right.
But what happens if you invest 5,000 and you get 45,000 back? Does that mean you have failed or achieved or succeeded? Well, technically you failed. Now, what I'm saying to companies is, yes, of course, we still consider that metric. But look at the other things you can achieve. How many appointments do you want for after the event when it's over, for the week after the event or 2 weeks after the event? How many existing customers do you want to talk to? How many new customers do you want to talk to? How many leads do you want to get each day?
Right.
These are really important objectives. And if we don't set them, we don't meet them.
I love that. And I like that you chose 3. I want to say it was Warren Buffett that said, if you have more than 3 priorities, you don't have any, right? So I think that in this case, it's the same thing. If you have more than 3 objectives going into this, you really don't have any objectives. You're just there to see what happens, right? Because how do you keep track of more than 3 things in a good way?
Yeah, exactly. But you know what I mean? It's like, I always say to people, they go 3, God, I want to achieve more than that. I said to you, chances are you will achieve more than that. But let's achieve the 3 first.
That's right.
And get the other things along the way.
But it's also, like you said earlier about your offerings, right? You used to have 6 offerings. You got rid of 2. Now you have 4. Concentrating on those 4, you're seeing even more success. So it's the concentration on those 3. It's big. Again, that's so simple, but you're right. It's that would make a big difference for a lot of exhibitioners that are.
The funny example I give you there on that one is when I talk to people who set the one objective, which is to sell 50,000 products. We'll just use this as an example. And if they sell 45,000, technically it's been a failure.
Right.
And they'll think very negatively towards the exhibition. But if they've set that, if they've set that objective 50,000 and to meet 10 new customers and get 27 people on our database. If they achieve those other two by meeting the 10 customers and having 27 on the database, and they get 45,000, now the exhibition is viewed as a success.
Right.
So we need to understand it's not about just money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Perfect. So that's step 2. What's step 3?
Step three is the interesting one. For me, it's the interesting one from a big marketing background. We talk about this. The best way I can just start describing it is a lot of companies will not market themselves before they exhibit. And the reason they do that is they assume that the organizer is going to do all the marketing for the show, which they should do, and they do. But as I explain to people, it's an exhibition organizer's responsibility to bring people through the front door of the show.
Right.
It's your responsibility as an exhibitor to bring them to your stand or your booth in the US. So when we talk about marketing, we live in a digital world. We live in a virtual world in a lot of cases, particularly with COVID. And by the way, I'm not negative towards virtual. Virtual has a good place. But when I talk about this idea of marketing yourself before you exhibit, we should do 70% of our marketing online, and 30% of our marketing should be offline. Now, the 30% is the area that people fall down on because they go, I don't need to do that. Everything's in Facebook, everything's on LinkedIn, or everything's on email marketing. They're great, but you're eliminating a portion of the market or potential portion of the market by not marketing yourselves offline. Now, an example of offline that I would say to people is, let's say you're doing an exhibition and you're in printing machinery or whatever it might be, something quite industrial. Right. You ring your top 10 potential customers. You pick up the phone and have a conversation saying, we're launching a new product, the show. Love you to come down. We can have lunch after, or whatever you might say. But you're having a personal contact. Much better than you just blasting off an email to them. Now, I'm not saying you don't blast off the email as well, but you need to have that personal touch, or the offline piece. Could be like posting something in the mail. Now, again, it's very antiquated. But we need to understand that it's not all about digital. Right. Yes, digital is important, but so is the offline piece. So my tip number 3, which is step number 3, is 70% of our marketing should be done online, and 30% of our marketing should be done offline, and that will make you more successful when you're exhibiting because you get more traffic to your stand.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I think how many exhibitors are surprised when you tell them to do some marketing before the event? Do some of their own marketing.
The vast majority, Jason. Most people kind of look at me and go, what? I kind of say that to them, this thing about the organizer's responsibility to get people to the front door. And then they kind of wake up and go, he's kind of right.
He's right.
But I suppose they spend such big money exhibiting, they just assume that everything is going to be done for them. But unfortunately, that's the pitfall, because you can have the most beautiful looking exhibition in the world. It can look amazing and all that. Great exhibitors. But if there ain't any visitors coming through the doors, it's a waste of time.
Waste of time. That's right. Perfect. I love it. Okay.
But that's a 70-30 split. That's what I call that.
70-30 split. Perfect. Okay. Step 4.
Step 4 now is on the whole area of stand design and how we lay out our booth at an exhibition. Okay. I'm going to give you an interesting statistic. At an exhibition, when somebody is walking down the aisle of an exhibition hall, they decide within 4 seconds if they're going to stop on their stand. That's it. You have 4 seconds to make an impression when you're exhibiting.
4 seconds.
4. That's it.
Wow.
So you'll stand out anyway, Jason. But we all have to stand out. I mean, that's really important.
Right.
So what I say to people here is there's 3 elements to standing out. The first one and the most important one are your people. And your people are not sitting down, they're not texting their mates, eating their lunch, drinking coffee on the stand. They're standing ready to engage with people. They smile on their face, open body language. And you can always spot the difference with somebody who's been sent to an exhibition as opposed to somebody who's really invested in being a success. Someone who's been sent is sitting there, he's reading his newspaper or texting his mates, and people won't stop if they see that. So we need to get our people right, first of all. Open body language, standing, smiling, engaging. That's the first part. The second part is our stand design. When it comes to somebody feeling comfortable to walk onto a booth at an exhibition, you need to have 60% of your floor space needs to be free for visitor access on the floor. Now, after COVID, in fact, that will probably be more than 60% because people want a little bit of distance.
Right.
So ensuring that we don't put too much product, too many chairs, furniture, whatever you want on the booth, and give people an open area that they can come in because they feel more comfortable to stop, and in which case they will. And the third part of that equation is your stand itself. When we talk about the stand itself, when you're designing graphics for an exhibition, for your walls on your booth, your graphic should be readable and visible from 15 to 20 feet away, because that's what encourages people. What catches the eye is the color, but the wording on your booth. We don't put our whole life story on the graphic because people won't read it. If you sell pink widgets to people, you tell people to sell pink widgets, but make it really stand out with your graphics. Really strong imagery, strong colors. And when you combine the stand, the people, and the product together, you really are encouraging them to stop, and you will be more successful.
Wow. Those are, once again, very simple, but powerful advice. I like that. Now, what about, like, I mean, as far as you have 4 seconds, obviously it needs to be visible or anything. Is it advantageous to have brighter colors, or maybe should I set my stand on fire to stand out?
Yeah.
I mean, to catch someone in 4 seconds.
No.
Any of that other stuff matter?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I wouldn't probably go as far as setting it on fire, but yeah, but no, I never point up. No, but you're so right. What we're trying to do here is the color is critically important. If you're a marketing person and you go onto Google and you search colors in marketing, there's a tremendous amount of articles that will tell you what a color says about your company and how your company is perceived. Use the strong colors. Now, obviously, if you have a company corporate logo with those colors, you should be using those colors because that's consistency. Right. But you want something that's going to jump out off the page, if you want to call it that, to people and go, wow, that's impressive. And you can do that through color. And that color is critical. I mean, I've chosen kind of a pinky and blue color for my company logo on purpose because blue is seen as credible and pink is seen as fun, because that's what I want to be seen as in my business. And we need to do the same thing when we're exhibiting.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, how often do you see exhibitors completely fail at this step?
Quite a bit. Well, see, the thing is, the more they fail, the better in some ways, because that gives me more potential customers. I suppose if everyone was doing it right, I wouldn't have any customers.
That's right. Okay. Good deal. Good deal.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
Step 5.
Step five we move on to, and this area is the whole area about questions, how we engage with people at exhibitions. So what I say to people is, what's the worst question a visitor can ask an exhibitor? And it's one that's all over the world, and every time I go to an exhibition I hear the same question, and the question is, can I help you? And why it's so bad in exhibition terms, well, it's bad in life as well, but why it's so bad in exhibition terms is 99% of people are going to say no thanks.
Yep.
Now your conversation is now over, finished, because you know where to go. And the salesperson who's asked, can I help you, and gets that response on his own stand is kind of looking around and go, what do I do next? What I say to people is, just put the word how in front of that sentence, and it completely changes the dynamic. Because what we're trying to do with somebody we meet at an exhibition is we're trying to build a relationship with them. We're trying to build rapport with somebody. And we do that through asking good questions, open questions that are going to encourage them to talk. And why I say this is, how can you solve someone's problem if you don't know what their problem is? And if you're doing all the talking, you can't find out. So it's really critical that we don't ask, can I help you? We think of a good opening question that's going to engage them and really get the credibility straight away. Wow. And I see this a lot. The other area to that one, Jason, is also a statistic, and I don't want to keep throwing statistics at you, but 30% of visitors to trade shows are what they call tire kickers. They're never going to buy. That's not a reflection on the show, by the way. That's globally.
Right.
So what we've got to do is we've got to be able to manage that audience by asking good qualifying questions that are going to ascertain, is this person really a buyer or not? So the questioning piece is really, really important. So it's about developing your questions before you go, as opposed to winging it when you get there.
Right. Now, would you say what should be the split between listening and sharing?
for your average exhibitor?
Yeah, if I put my sales training hat on, there is a kind of a little cliched expression that's used in sales training that says we've 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
I like it.
And I think if we take that as a reference point, we should be listening 2/3 of the time and talking 1/3 of the time.
That's good. Good advice. Good advice. I think it makes it a lot easier, like you said earlier, though, if send someone who wants to be there, not just sending someone who has to be there, right? If they want to be there, they probably will listen, 2/3 and deliver what we're hoping to get out of this thing.
Yeah,
okay, now we're at 25 minutes, so we got to get through the last 2 steps quickly.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's brilliant. I told you I could talk for Ireland. Step number 6. Step number 6 is about selling at exhibitions. Now, exhibition selling is different than day-to-day selling. And what I mean by that is, in day-to-day selling, if you're going to meet a customer, you know who he is, you know where he lives, you know where his company is, you know what his website is, you know lots about him. And you might know what his budget is. When somebody walks onto your stand at an exhibition or a booth at your exhibition, you don't necessarily have a clue who they are. So you've got to build a relationship with them really, really quickly. Exhibition selling is what I call reactive. We've got to build that rapport and relationship much faster. And we do that through asking, as I mentioned in the previous step, asking good qualifying questions.
Right.
Rather than just winging it and trying to be this smart aleck, we've got to ask really focused questions. Because exhibition selling is different because we don't know who's going to be on our stand. So we've got to build that relationship much, much quicker.
Absolutely.
That's step number 6.
That's perfect. And it makes all the sense in the world. All the sense in the world. Okay. Step 7.
The last one. The last one's probably the most important.
Okay.
I'm going to throw one last statistic out here, and it's a really scary one. 81% of leads from trade shows are never followed up. And the reason why that happens is it's scary. It's absolutely scary that people do that. But what happens, Jason, is people come back to their office after exhibiting. They've been away for 2 or 3 days during the build-up of the show. They've been away for the 3 days of the event. So they might have been out of the office a week. What they tend to do then is they play catch-up with things that happen when they're away. And they say, I'll chase the leads tomorrow. The following day comes and they go, I'm still busy. I have 2 meetings this morning. I'll chase them up tomorrow. And as the movie says, tomorrow never comes, they don't chase them up. And then they blame the organizer and say the show was rubbish. And say, well, it wasn't really. You didn't chase up the leads. So you need to have a plan for following up before you exhibit, not afterwards. And what I say to people, my tip here is set the first day back in your office as what we call a back at office show day. So you focus on the leads or whatever needs to be done from the exhibition before you do anything else. And then you have the peace of mind and comfort to know that you're in the 19% of people who are really, really, really successful at exhibiting. So I'm sorry, the last point I'll say to you on that is your leads need to be chased up within 6 days. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to get the business within 6 days, you're maintaining the contact. Now, if you get a lot of leads and you can't chase them up within 6 days, you should be emailing them within 48 hours to say, I'm going to follow up with you end of next week or whatever it might be. What you're doing now is you're maintaining contact with the potential customer who wants to buy off you 3 days ago. So what's changed?
Right. Now, why 6 days? Are there some statistics behind that number of 6?
Yeah, what the thinking behind that is you don't want to chase up the lead within a day because that sounds like you're stalking somebody, or even 2 days to an extent. You want to give them an opportunity to get back to their office a visitor. And you also want to let them digest a little bit. What you don't want to do is you don't want to go over a week later. Now you can go 6. I know we can split the hairs over 5 days, 6 days, but you want to do it all within the 7 days, within a week. So that's why the 6 is there. But 6, Jason, is at the top end. I would suggest doing it with day 3 or 4, but 6 is the top end.
Got it. Perfect. 81%. That statistic just, it wounds me. I feel the pain.
No, it's crazy. It's like buying the nicest pair of jeans in the world and never wearing them. You're not getting the benefit of what you pay for.
Oh, gosh. Wow.
That was a helicopter tour that was a helicopter tour of 7 steps to exhibition success.
No, it was beautiful. I love it. I want to dive deeper, and I have all kinds of questions about, how do these change for virtual events and all this stuff. Just, but we don't have the time. So,
we can do it again if you want sometime. No problem.
Let's do it again. Yes, I absolutely want to do it again. And that last one's a doozy. Okay, so that was the 7 steps. Give us maybe 30 more seconds what are your closing thoughts? What else would you like to leave the audience with today until our next one?
I suppose for me, it's about patience. It's about thinking, Rome wasn't built in a day. Rome was crashed for the last 18 months. It's time to rebuild our business, but it's time to start focusing on our customers more, not focus on what we need, focus on what they need. Because we are in this together, but at the end of the day, of course, we're out there to sell things, our products and services. We've got to understand that the last 18 months have been challenging for the whole world, and we're not going to get any better by just trying to push sales through. So be patient.
Patience. I love it. I love it. Stephan, thank you so much for being here today. This was awesome. I loved all of this. Great advice. 7 steps are beautiful. And like you said, simple, right? It's not rocket science. So very, very, very easy. To our audience, all of those in the event industry are which our audience mostly is. Reach out to Stephan on LinkedIn, follow him on LinkedIn, check out his content. And looking forward to our next show together. Let's do it.
That's brilliant. They get me at the exhibition guy on LinkedIn. You won't miss me on the exhibition guy.
That's right. The exhibition guy. And to our audience, thank you so much. We'll see you again next time. Have a good one.
Pleasure.